The Adjustment Bureau. We make Negroes adjust.
Somebody tell me, please. Side of the TV. Side of the TV. Looking for some conscious information. Side of the TV. Looking for some confrontation. Side of the TV. A little debating. A lot of hating. Side of the TV. Information. Side of the TV. Conscious information. Side of the TV.
All right, peace and Black Power family. You already know what it is. This is your brother Sarnetta coming back at you once again. And I have a powerful soldier here, a historian, who I call the Black History Hitman. You already know what it is, Brother Larry. Brother Larry, the discussion that we was talking about yesterday, the Moors is going crazy right now because Reggie have opened up a can of worms. You have said all that what Reggie said, you have said that already. So as far as your understanding and your research through the years, can you tell me anything that the Moors have contributed to African people, to our people? Have they contributed anything?
First of all, peace and Black Power. Peace and Black Power, right? When individuals talk about Black is not a nationality, Black is a color can't be this, a color can't be that, what they're actually doing is they're setting a context in which you fail. You understand? Now, I have individuals tell me, and this is really, really funny, right? They say, well, you call yourself Black, Brother Larry, but Black is a translation of Negro into English, right? Be that as it may, we owe the term Negro to the Moors. I told you this a long time ago, right? When they conquered Spain and Al-Andalus, Spanish is the place where that language is spoken, Spanish and Portuguese. The Moors had sway over the Iberian Peninsula where Spanish and Portuguese spoken, right? So calling people Negro came from that patch of land at that particular time in history, right? Because I said before they were trafficking non-Muslim blacks, okay? We know they had a Barbary Coast slave market. Individuals want to dig up the whites who were enslaved in the Barbary Coast slave market, right? And we know I elucidated that before. Yeah, they were snatching people off the seas, snatching people. This was actually what you have to do, Brother Sarnetta, is you have to stop allowing European scholars to compartmentalize the history of this region, right? When you compartmentalize the history of the region, what you do is you miss the fact of why Columbus took to that water. You understand? He took to the water because the Muslims were shanghaiing Christians and white people and enslaving their ass and ransoming them back to Europe if they caught a king. You know, some of the quote unquote royalty in those European houses, they fancied themselves explorers like Prince Henry the Navigator, right? So they was shanghaiing these dudes, yanking them up, and then ransoming them back. If you didn't have the money to pay, your ass was going to be a slave in the Barbary Coast market, right? So you had a few notable cases of this occurring, right? Now, the most notable and most relevant issue to our discussion is the fact that the United States fought a war against these people off the north coast or off the north coast of Africa, right? It's called the Barbary Coast War, right? And they were fighting these people because they were snatching ships and snatching people, right? At the same time, Europeans held black people enslaved in America. It was black Muslims and tawny Moors, or what you call beige people, yanging people off the north coast of Africa, right? In fact, I told you before, the very term for the head of the Navy comes from this period. Admiral is Emir al-Bara. That was one of the dudes over there that they were fighting against. It was called Lord of the Sea, right? They were so impressed by this pirate, or they call him a pirate, but they were so impressed by him that they named their top naval officer after him, right? Now, relevance. When you talk about Moors, right? These people were not known to themselves as Moors. They became known as Moors after the conquest of Al-Andalus, right? Or Spain, right? Or the Iberian Peninsula, right? Properly. Now, this was 711 AD, but not 711 AD to 1492, right? Because you had two more waves of Muslims come into Spain. They were not Moors, the Almoravids or the Almoravids and the Almohads, right? These were movements of Muslims in North Africa, Berber movements, right? That created towns like Fez and Marrakesh fighting against each other. You understand? It wasn't like everybody in the projects is Moors. So when we move, it's the Moors moving. That's not what was going on. What you had going on, if you look, you'll get prime example, right? You see the brothers that's calling themselves Hebrew Israelites today? Okay. If you were going to describe Hebrew Israelites today, how you going to describe them? They're not one people. They telling you they one people. They telling you they all the same. But when you look at them, what do you see? You see Puerto Ricans. You see some white boys. You see some black dudes. You know what I'm saying? You see some Arab looking dudes, Mexican. You understand what I'm saying to you? But if you listen to them, they telling you they all Hebrew Israelites, right? So now, how can you think in terms of quote unquote racial identity when you're talking about Hebrew Israelites? They're going to tell you they're the same people, but your eyes is going to tell you that's not kind of possible. You understand? It's the same way when you're talking about quote unquote Moors, okay? You're not talking about one people. You're not talking about a couple of people. You're talking about Muslims who came together under a flag and was marching. So there was all kind of people there, right? But it began as a Berber movement out of North Africa. These was the people that came when the Arabs conquered the North. They Islamicized those Berbers. You understand? Those Berbers marched across that water, or they took a boat across the water and marched, right? It just so happens that one of the most noted Berbers was Tariq ibn Zayd, right? So now when we look at these people, we're talking about the continent of Africa. Why is it so hard to understand that you got people that's black there, what we would call black? You understand? But remember, dealing with historical epochs. So in this historical epoch, in this reality, we're black, right? In another historical epoch, you might not say black. You may have said Ashanti or Fanti, depending on the empire you was in. The Malian Empire under Kankamusa, right? They were not known as Moors. Songhai, they were not known as Moors. But when they went and when they left the empire and went to join in the jihad. Now you're talking about outsiders who they fighting against, just calling them Moors.
For the last time, Brother Larry, how did the name Moor get attached to our people and now we run with it? And why was it attached to our people?
Once again, the term Moor got attached to our people from the outside, right? The people who they were calling Moors were not calling themselves Moors, right? Now, they said, well, how are you going to say that? First of all, right now, we have they opening up and they coming out with all these manuscripts in Timbuktu, the lost libraries of Timbuktu, right? I'm just waiting for y'all to show me more in those books. Where these Muslims were keeping records and talk about everything. They were writing so much stuff. They was writing in Surah using Arabic characters. They were writing in Mandingo using Arabic characters, right? And they're not calling themselves Moors. You don't see that. You understand? This is coming. We speak in English. I'm gonna tell you again. We speak in these European languages, and we know what Europeans say about us, and we're just picking up these terms from these Europeans and repeating them. You understand? Like African, we call ourselves African. They weren't calling themselves African. First of all, they did not call the continent Africa. So they would not apply it the same way that it's being applied today. Mind you, we are inside of a foreign culture. You understand? So now, because we came up in this culture, because we speak this language, where else are you going to get your references? What other language? How are you going to think these references? You understand? You're going to do exactly what, in fact, you're going to do exactly what the Arabs did when they got their hands on old European stuff. They translated it into Arabic, and they still use the same terms because that's what was known to them. They didn't have a political agenda about calling themselves something. You understand? So now we got politics, social movement, and militancy mixed in, and you have individuals looking for ideal types or archetypes in order to reference, right? The most impressive to these guys, the last impressive manifestation of black people to these guys happened to have been the Moors who conquered Spain. Now, to me, that's kind of sad because that's 711 AD. If you got to go all the way back to 711 AD to find a model in order to present, to say that this is who we are and this is what we represent, you're going back to 711. The Malian, the Songhai Empire was destroyed by these people that you think you calling Moors. 1591, Morocco attacked Timbuktu. That was the end of Songhai. You understand? All the kingdoms that were between Morocco and Songhai Empire were attacked. Mauritania is still going on today. This is why you have all that nonsense in the Sudan, right? The people who you think are Moors, or the people who would have been referred to as Moors, are in control of the Sudan today. You understand? Those wannabe Arabs, brown-skinned people that we call Arabs, and that people from over there, they just call them wannabes. They say, no, they black. You understand? Listen, it doesn't matter. I posted a video of one from there, from the Sudan, right? And I said, yo, this guy's an Arab. He said, he ain't no fucking Arab. He black like you. You understand? I said, what do you mean he black like me? He said, that motherfucker's black like you. This was his exact words, right? And I said, but why they call him Arab? He said, listen, right? They speak Arabic, but they not Arabs. He said, the blacks who don't speak Arabic call the blacks who do speak Arabic Arabs. You understand? He said, but they not Arabs. So I said, okay, I understand that. I don't have a problem understanding that, right? Because I know that the way that our people behave when they get involved with things is they try to be, you know, the most pious, the most righteous, the most You know what I'm saying. We get on some bullshit with anything. We even try to be the best silly ass kid on the corner that we could be. You understand? It's just the way, it's just the nature of our people, right? But at the same time, brother Sarnetta, you have to understand they broke us up into languages. Okay? So Europeans, they didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They don't have a problem calling us whatever we want to be called. You understand? So if we want to be called Moors, they'll just say, okay, Moors. If we want to be called upside down, they'll refer to us as upside down. It's not on them. This is us doing this to ourselves.
Okay. All right, my brother. I hear the Moors say that Hannibal Barker was a Moor. But I heard my brother Reggie said the other day that it was the Moors who sold Hannibal out, who fought against Hannibal. This is how he lost that other war. Going up in there, I think against Rome, I think he said it was. I don't want to misquote him, but he said it was the Moors fighting on the side of the Berbers, I think he said. I don't know. I'm misquoting him. I don't want to misquote him. But do you have any information on that? Was Hannibal a Moor, and was he fighting against the Moors?
Well, here's the thing, right? With all due respect to Brother Reggie, I did not hear him say that. So what I'll do is this, right? What I'll do is this, right? Hannibal won a series of strategic victories, right? Most notably in 218 and 216 BC, right? In Cannae and someplace else in Italy, right? So now what happened was he kept beating these Romans. He kept beating their armies, right? So he beat Publius Cornelius Scipio, right? His son, Publius Cornelius Scipio, the second, well, you don't call him the second, but that one, he went to North Africa to do an end run around Hannibal. He went and attacked Carthage, right? So now he had an ally. The ally name was Massinissa, right? It was from Numidia, right? Which was a North African state at the time, right? Now, were these Moors? I don't think they were Moors, right? I think they were Berbers or Afar people, right? But it was a black dude, right? And he was a former ally of Hannibal, and he sided with the Romans, and that in 202 BC in a town called Zama, right, allowed them to defeat Hannibal, right? Now, was Hannibal a Moor? See, once again, this is us using our limited understanding of historical references, and then we try to apply that shit to everybody, right? But here's what I need to point out to you at this time, right? When have they ever described Phoenicians as Moors, right? You have two terms here. You have Phoenician and you have Moor, right? We have historical context and reference for the application of these two terms, right? Carthage was a Phoenician civilization, right? They founded the city, they moved, they colonized shit, just like the Greeks was going around colonizing places. The Phoenicians was on some colonized place shit, right? They colonized parts of Spain, they colonized parts of Sicily, they colonized parts of North Africa, right? Part of their colonization was Carthage or Carthage, right? They were not Moors, all right? Now, under Roman control, Carthage was completely destroyed. They burnt it to the ground and then rebuilt it. You understand? As a Roman province, because this was some ultra heated hundreds of years war they were fighting. You understand? There was 3 wars. They call them the Punic Wars. 3 of them. 1 was with Hannibal's father. 2 was with Hannibal, and 3 was the end. You understand? And were they Moors again? How can they be Moors if they were Phoenicians? Right? How can they be Moors if they were Phoenicians? That's like saying, now, as some of us will do, right? When you say Puerto Rican or Dominican, and we say, oh, it's the same. But now you can't tell a Puerto Rican and a Dominican that they're the same, because they're going to start pointing out to you the cultural differences between Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. You understand? So now from the outside, though, you say, well, black Puerto Ricans and black Dominicans are the same. And they're going to tell you, no. Well, we have a shared history, but once you diversed, and some went to Puerto Rico and some went to San Domingo, different people, different culture. They speak Spanish, but in a different way. The thing they have in common is that they were being transported or conquered by Spaniards from Spain. So they have a linguistic affinity, but that's it. They're not the same people, right? So now when you look at blacks in America and blacks in the Caribbean, right? And we said, well, no, we're the same people. I'm going to tell you, no, we're not the same people. First of all, they did not bring us to these places from one group of people. This is key to understanding. We did not come from one group of people. So now if we didn't come from one group of people, right? And we wound up in different places, right? And we manifest different culture to the point where you can tell when someone is from Jamaica, you can tell when someone is from Trinidad and Tobago, you can tell when someone is from the mainland in North America. You can tell us apart. So how you going to say we're the same? And it's not just language, it's culture. You understand? And it's historically accurate to say that these people are different people. When you look at the continent of Africa today, you cannot rationally and realistically say all of the people on the continent of Africa are the same. It just doesn't make sense, right? So understanding that there's different people, in fact, the most diverse place on the planet is the continent of Africa. So when you got people in the northern part and you got people in the western part, and some of them get radicalized with Islam and they go join the fight, now you're looking at a phenomenon like you're looking at these Hebrew Israelites. You got people from all over coming under one flag, and under that flag, they saying they one thing. But we know they're not one thing. This is what you got going on with these quote unquote Moors. They're not calling themselves that. Outsiders are calling them that because the outsiders don't know. The outsiders just, oh, black Muslims, Moors. It's not the same. This is us in confusion trying to rectify something to reconcile it with our rational minds. You cannot reconcile that with your rational mind because it will never make sense because it's not accurate. You understand that, brother? So now, when you look at brothers, and I love to make this comparison because there's no other starker comparison than you look at a brother like Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq is 7 feet tall. You look at a brother like Brother Larry. I'm 5'5". Now, if you got a group of people that resemble Shaquille O'Neal, right? And all of them are like 6'10" and 7 feet tall, right? When you come around brothers like Brother Sarnetta and Brother Larry, and you say we the same people, we have to put that in historical context. You understand? Because there are nations of people on the continent of Africa, and all of them are tall. And there are nations of people on the continent of Africa, and all of them are short.
All right, Brother Larry, you said a mouthful. You dropping some powerful information. This is what I want to ask you now, brother. When we hear our people say, well, you sold each other into slavery. blacks sold blacks into slavery, is it possible that they could really be saying the Moors, our people in slavery? They just don't know who. But could it be possible? Because I think I heard you say something like that at one time.
Not at one time. I say it all the time. This is why I tell you. This is why I tell you we became known as Negroes, courtesy of the Moors. But when I say we became known as Negroes, right? I'm not talking about us, Sarnetta, right? I'm talking about people who were trafficked in the market, right? Now, you gotta understand that today we're doing something that was kind of done to us, right? And it really doesn't make sense, right? Because we know that there are different people on the continent of Africa, right? So because we know this, when you say they sold us, right? What I'm talking about is a market phenomenon that occurred prior to and simultaneously with the transatlantic slave trade, okay? Moors were not selling us to Europeans. Those were different kind of people on the continent of Africa doing that trafficking, right? The Moors had their own market in the north, the Barbary Coast market, right? They had been transporting and trafficking people up into that market from the time of Kankamusa. You understand? The Malian Empire, they were trafficking black people. You understand? The Songhai Empire, they were trafficking black people. They were doing it, man. When they became Islamicized, here's what you have to know. Part of the Islamic experience is to look, part of the Islamic experience is to look down your nose at people who are not having that experience. You looking at what part of the Christian experience too? You look down through your nose at people. You call them names. You call them heathens. You call them infidels. You call them non-believers. And that non-believer has a connotation with it. You know what I'm saying? It's not just, oh, they believe something different. No, it's like non-believer. That means your ass could be subject to whatever we want to subject you to because you a non-believer, right? This is how you got that that ayat in the Quran. There's no compulsion in religion because they was moving on people, and even in 7-Eleven, they issued an ultimatum to King Rhetoric of the Visigoths: convert or die. You convert to Islam or we gonna cut your head off. You know what I'm saying? That's the shit they was on. They march on you if you wasn't a Muslim, take your territory. This is how they expanded, right?
You're saying the Moors?
No, Muslims, period. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So what happened, I don't like to say what had happened was, but what had happened was, right? Once you got down with these Muslims, you got on the same shit they was on. You was on some radical Islam shit, some jihad shit, some spread the faith shit, some. Now, the credit that I'll give them is that they wasn't just mindless idiots. Once they said, oh shit, look at all this knowledge we got, these books, they started studying. It became prescribed for them to learn. They took the mythology of Muhammad, right? You see me clearly? You see my lips clearly?
Right.
They took the mythology of Muhammad and they made it reality. Now, what I mean is that the mythology of Muhammad is that Muhammad was meditating in a cave and he had a vision. And what they say is the angel Gabriel, right? Or Jibril, right? Now, he was ordered to read, right? They took that shit literally, right? So you had Muslims, they started reading, they started learning, they started debating. This is why you had Christians and Jews in Spain reading and learning with them and translating documents. They took that literally, right? So you can't fault them for that. And when you had Islam spreading, they spread literacy. So we're not gonna say they didn't do some good. You know what I'm saying? When you look at West Africa, the literacy in West Africa is because of Islam. You know what I'm saying? They spread it and they started learning the same way. They started studying stars. You see texts on astronomy and everything, right? I posted stuff up so you can see this, right? But people not connecting the dots, right? So we got an empire on the move, a burgeoning empire on the move, and everywhere they trying to set up grandiose shit. That's where you get your Alhambras and your Cordoba Mosque and stuff like that, right? When Kankamusa made the pilgrimage to Mecca, he brought back architects with him, and they start building. You understand? So it was some positive aspects to it, but at the same time, if you wasn't a Muslim, they was putting your ass under the thumb. They was selling you, trafficking you, taking your shit, taking your land, right? And that's just it. They were conquerors.
All right, I need you to make clear for the people, because you know you have a group of Moors out there. They don't. First of all, I want to say they don't all believe in the same thing. One say you could find Moors in antiquity, and another group say there was no Moors in antiquity. So what I'm asking you, my brother, was where the Moors at the time of the pyramid building, at the time of the Kemetic brothers and sisters that's out there in Egypt, in Kemet, building the great pyramids. Were there Moors at that time? The word Moor.
Here's why there could not have been.
It's one of them that say that
I know. Yeah. Lord Abba thinks anything with an M, right, or anything with an MO or MA or MU is a form of Moor, right? What Lord Abba's doing is Lord Abba is searching from his English understanding, right? Let me repeat that, right? Because you know I'm not disrespecting my brother, right? Because I have the same English understanding. We speak English, right? But what Lord Abba's doing from his English understanding is he is trying to see a connection between roots and syllables in foreign languages, right? That he does not speak. So when you try to connect, remember these people speak in different languages, right? The chances that you'll have words that are similar in languages, I mean, come on, we people speaking languages, but they have no connection. You understand? So now to say that there were Moors, quote unquote Moors, in the time of the pyramids, right? This is what I'm going to say to Lord Abba and to everyone else. Moors have a historical context where in which they developed, where in which they stand out, and where in which we can reference them clearly. That is 711 AD until 1400s, right? For almost 800 years, 700 and change, they're credited with holding sway in Al-Andalus or Andalusia. Now, what I need to point out to you is that cannot be historically accurate. It can't be historically accurate because, yes, they conquered in 711, but in 1075, the Almoravids came, and they were not Moors. Then the Almohads came. They were not Moors. This wasn't the same people who conquered in 711. They got beat up by the Almoravids, who felt their ass was soft. Then the Almoravids, they lost power to the Almohads. Now, once again, I posted a video on this, right? I even sent it to you last night to your phone, right? So you can see that this is historical context for this. They were building. You understand? There's mosques that still exist today, structures that were built under these different movements of Berber Islamists in North Africa, right? And you can see the difference in the architecture. The Almoravids, they built this way and put symbols in their stuff to show that it was them, right? The Almohads came along and they changed it and did it this way to show, because they were dealing with different movements in Islam, but it was Berber movements. Now, when you look at our people here and what we used to call the wilderness of North America, right? when you look at the Islamic movements that we have here, right? You look at the Nation of Islam, right? You look at the Ansar Allah community, right? You look at the Sunni Muslims, the Shia Muslims, the Sufi Muslims, right? You see different manifestations and you see them present themselves in a different way, right? The Nation of Islam, they present themselves in suits and bow ties. You understand? The Ansar Allah community, they present themselves in robes and turbans, or you know what I'm saying? But they all claim to be Muslims. The Moorish Science Temple, right? They say that they deal with Islamism, right? And Lord Abba likes to say it's not the same because this is not the ancient times. This is for our time and our predicament, right? But what I need to point out to you is that what you have is schisms, meaning offshoots of something, right? In different manifestations, and depending on who is doing the proselytizing, right? They put their own particular sway on it, their own particular view on it, and then it becomes a different manifestation. So when you're looking at quote unquote Islamism, right? You're not looking at Islam. You're looking at Islamism. It's not the same. You understand? It's not the same. When you're looking at the nation of Islam, it's not the same as a Sunni Muslim organization. A Sunni Muslim organization is not the same as a Shia Muslim organization. Now, when you look at the historical, what they identify as the historical cause of the split, one was supposed to be the caliph and the other one got to be the caliph. There's more to this than that. Because when you look at Shia Islam, you're actually looking at Persians, right? You're looking at something that comes from Persia. When you're looking at Sunni Islam, you're looking at Arabs. That's the core in Arabia. So more than ideology, you have culture that's bearing on the way these people see the world. And when you look at the way that they present themselves, you see that there's a cultural difference. When you look at the Ayatollahs in Iran, right? They don't look nothing like them Sunni Muslims in Arabia, Saudi Arabia proper. When you look at the way they dress, they different headdresses, different turban, different outfits, and different culture. Okay? So that's Shia and Sunni. When in Iraq, right, you had a strong Shia Muslim population, but you also had a strong Sunni Muslim population. Yeah. Okay. What's your name, brother?
My name is Ibrahim.
Ibrahim, my
Yes.
brother Larry. So now, when you look at where Mandingos are scattered present day, what we actually see is the core of the empire gutted and people scattered all around.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the empire went from Mauritania all the way to Cameroon.
Yes. It was.
Yeah. Come on. Let me ask you this.
When you are home,
Yes.
do you call yourselves Africans amongst yourself?
Yes. I call myself African among ourselves.
No.
He don't understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, see,
Yeah.
Once again, see, here's what we got to deal with, right? We have a internal and an external understanding.
Yeah.
We don't run from the external because we know this is what we're being called.
Right.
You understand? It's hard to explain to people how you can't say that you're not African, even though there's no such thing as an African. You know that people understand, people call you African. If you say you're not African, that's kind of like saying, well, I'm not black. You understand? We know we're not black. We're brown. Brown hair, brown eyes, and brown skin. But when we use black, we also know that we're black. You understand? So now we know that you can't be African because this is someone else calling us something from ignorance. Just because the continent is being called Africa, they're calling the people on the continent African. But Ibrahim knows he's a Mandingo.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
If you go to Ghana, you're gonna find Ashanti, and Fanti, and Ewe, and Ga. If you go to Burkina Faso, you're gonna find Mandingo and who else?
My nigga Mosi. My nigga Mosi.
Mosi
Yeah.
is a Mandingo people.
Fula.
So are you African or are you Mandingo?
Oh, I will call myself Mandingo.
There you go, bro. That's what we say.
Yeah.
So why you choose to use African? Because you think that that's all we know.
That's what a lot of people know. If I tell myself Mandingo, they say what's that? If I tell myself African, people already know where I'm from. Yeah.
You was right, brother.
I'm out to eradicate that ignorance, right? See, it does us a disservice, right? When we speak in these European languages, right?
Yes.
So we assume that the only thing we know is these terms that are in these European languages.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
What it does is it keeps distance between us.
True.
The distance between us doesn't help us, it helps them.
Yeah.
Because it keeps us separate.
Divide us.
It keeps us from being powerful again. It keeps us from saying, we need to build back the empire.
Ask me if you know anything about the Hebrews or the Moors.
His brother's a Muslim, right?
Yes, I am.
Now, to your understanding,
Yes.
to your knowledge,
Yes.
are there any Mandingo Jews?
Any Mandingo Jews? No.
Are there any Mandingo Hebrew Israelites?
No. To my knowledge, no.
Now, I know this, brother,
Yes.
right? But we have some people
Yes.
who think that somehow lost tribes of Jews came to Mali and set themselves up as lost tribes of Jews and turned our people into Jews, or we was the lost tribes of Jews who wound up in Mali. What do you think about that?
I don't have a comment on that because I don't know much about that.
See, I love this brother. Did you hear what the brother said? The brother said, I don't have a comment about that because I don't know much about that. Now, what that also tells you, if he don't know about that, then it wasn't going on around him.
That's right.
You understand?
That's right.
See, we take data and we don't just see it one way. We see the implications of the information, right? And the implications of the information is that individuals here in this market of lost reality, right? We have individuals looking at other cultures and saying what other people were doing, but they're wrong. It's erroneous information. You understand? And that's key to understanding.
Okay, so in closing, what do you have to say on what we talked about, the Moors and the Minister Farrakhan March? And
in closing, where did Ibrahim go?
He walked that way.
Huh?
He
Damn.
walked off. You ain't know he walked off?
Damn. Right?
Damn, man.
No, you were supposed to remind me that more stuff. You were supposed to remind me that more stuff because we could have settled that right then.
Oh, wow.
You understand?
Yeah.
You see, he's a Mandingo.
Right.
Now, but those are the brothers that they run around here calling Moors. The quote unquote African Muslims. Know what I'm saying? That would have went to join in the jihad. Know what I'm saying? They came from all over, wherever it was Islamicized that, they came from there to go fight in the army. Not all of them, just like you have now in certain Islamic areas in the quote unquote Middle East, right? You have the young men who don't feel like they're getting a fair shake, who feel like, oh, the Christians is doing this or the Jews is doing that. They go in the fight under a banner. Now I'm saying some of them, they call themselves ISIS right now, or ISIL, right? Islamic State, right? Those people are coming from all over the Islamic world, and they fighting under one banner. That does not make them one people, and it most certainly don't make them Moors. You have black ones there too. You know what I'm saying? You don't see them as much because the ones that's getting the press are the Arab ones, right? Oh, I wish you'd have reminded me. And in closing, peace and black power.
Peace.